Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. It is El Jefe, Dave Duford here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And I'm doing a very special, very candid interview with two of my best friends in the final expense business, Mr. John Dean and Jason. Say hello.
Hey.
Hello.
So the reason we're here today, I got a request from John, which is, I'm always, scouring for video ideas because after you've done like 1,500 of them, you start to kind of run dry. He said, hey, let's do a video where we talk about the differences between face-to-face final expense sales and telesales. And I thought, well, hell, what better way to do it than bring on my two top producers in both face-to-face sales and telesales. So what we're going to do today is really kind of give you guys a rundown of what both sides of the coin are really like from people, from agents who are doing extremely well right now in the business. So if you're thinking about selling final expense and you're thinking, should I do telesales? There's all this pandemic. Or should I do face-to-face? Screw the pandemic. You're going to get your answers, or at least a better answer today. Also, if you're already doing final expense and you're doing telesales or face-to-face, you're going to get, and you're kind of like not feeling hot about whatever you're doing, you're thinking about making the jump, this video should help you kind of better I get an understanding of what the other half does. So let's start with some introductions first. John, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, what I do now is I sell face-to-face final expense. I tried telesales and went back to face-to-face. Before that, I was in the car business for about 20 years, mainly in the F&I department. But yeah.
And Jason, same to you. Who are you and why are you here?
Hey, this is Jason and JasonFinalExpense.com. I train agents nationally. It's lots of fun, but telesales is what I do. It's what I breathe and live. I love it. Done this for a long time in the insurance industry, and there's no life like the telesales life, in my opinion. It's just awesome. It's great. I mean, how can you sell 300 plus applications over the phone in 6 months? It's phenomenal. The face-to-face would take a lot of work, a lot of faxing to get that kind of production. It just would.
Well, that's why we have you here because, like you said, you've done a tremendous amount of volume for telesales for sure. 300 apps in 6 months. That's, guys, I'm happy with an agent that does that in 12 months, much less a career, to say the truth. However, Mr. John Dean here did 42,000 last month selling face-to-face. So we're going to get some good opinions from both of you guys on the pros and the cons of each. So let's jump in and really just start with you, John. You mentioned from the get-go, you do face-to-face now. You had tried telesales, but something happened that caused you to get back into face-to-face. Can you kind of give us some context to why you went to telesales, what that was like for you, and then why you went back? Kind of just have a brief overview.
Well, I felt that my production was going down. I wasn't putting my all in it. It's harder for me to read a script off because I don't know, I'm dyslexic and it's just harder for me to sit there. I'd almost have to memorize the script, which I'm sure Jason already has his script memorized, but to me, selling face-to-face, I've done face-to-face so long in the car business, sitting in front of people talking about payments, that it's just so much easier. I can read people, and that's where I'm best at.
So you'd say you've had kind of like a natural disposition due to your years in car sales to the face-to-face model.
Yeah. And I didn't, and I'll be honest with you, I really didn't give telesales maybe that much of a chance. I did it for almost 2 months, and just kind of getting when the coronavirus first started, and kind of getting going there.
Yeah, and I mean, you did. We were reviewing calls, and you were making sales, but it certainly wasn't to the same caliber of success like face-to-face for sure. So,
yeah.
Same question for you, Jason. So, Why telesales? Why did you get into telesales? You kind of have some similar transitionary experience like what John did with the pandemic. Can you kind of tell us why that was the case and why you do it still, even to this day?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, from a production standpoint, I mean, like 1 month alone in March, it was like 33 days for like $51,540 in comp, all done over the phone. Phenomenal ability to be able to compress time over the phone. So for me, I ran telemarketing call centers for 3+ years. I've been an insurance agent for coming up on 17 here. And to be able to capture a entire geography that's so vast and so large, you could never do that. You drive your socks off. It's just so much windshield time, so much loss. I mean, I've done the face-to-face realm before, and the telespace for me is just a massive advantage in compressing time and being able to capitalize on opportunity. Just for me personally, I've done both successfully. I love both, but let me tell you, I feel dirty going back into the field again. It's so productive in the telespace for me. That's just my take. So.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, you know, this isn't the one thing I'll say to the new agents. Like, the first idea I had with this interview was like a versus match, you know, like,
right.
Fist to fist stuff, you know, to the last one standing wins. But it's really not that way. I mean, I really think that, you know, there's ample, tremendous opportunity, whichever direction you go. The key is to find what's best for you. And that's really the ticket. Because I would figure, asking you, John, I mean, you don't live necessarily in a metropolitan area with a lot of geography, but you put up a lot of production. You put up a lot of appointments. I mean, I would say it's definitely possible to scale up in a large way. Maybe not to the same extent you get from phone sales, but the opportunities, to me, I think it's both there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I travel. I don't have a problem traveling. I do a lot in the northern part of Oklahoma, Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and I'm in Wichita, Kansas. So, I mean, Tulsa's 3 hours away. Oklahoma is 2.5 hours away. But I'm not in those areas that much. But I do a lot in the northern part of Oklahoma. I kind of stay out of the cities a lot. But I do a lot in Wichita, a lot around here, and I drive a lot. And I actually love the windshield time. I was stuck in an office for 20 years, calling banks and getting car deals bought, or talking to somebody face to face about buying the car, sitting there doing their financing. And I'm just sick of sitting in an office all day, and I get so busy or feel like I got to get out. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, my background, as you two know, I'm a face-to-face guy when I was full-time in the field. And to me, the idea, I love running the roads. I love the countryside. I felt like I could do plenty fine, but there was a sense of, I don't know if it's even logical. It's just the idea of moving around and going somewhere felt like I was doing something, even though, like Jason said, though, it's windshield time is sunk time lost, you know, so there's definitely something there. Jason, how and kind of expand on that. I'm curious, kind of the pros of telesales, somebody that's had some face-to-face, if you don't mind, expand on what you think the biggest advantages are as a telesales agent versus what you experienced as a face-to-face agent for the many years that you did it.
Oh, absolutely. So was a face-to-face agent over a decade as well. And tons of respect to you, John. Complete respect, man. I respect the work. And any agent that goes face-to-face and deals with, the little sponges on those coffee cups, and you're like, oh, dear goodness, right? You're sitting on cat piss. You've got, can we say that? Hopefully on YouTube. But you're like, please, I'm going to sit on like newspapers before I sit on that couch because like, wow. Right? The smells, the flies, the fleas that land on your stuff. And it's like flea circus, no joke. You see it all day long. You've got like so much of this stuff that happens that we don't even talk about in the face-to-face world. You won't experience that in the telespace. So especially like for ladies, you don't have to worry about some nasty man. I mean, there's been times in the field where you're talking to a sweet old lady and she's got like a 357 in the middle of her couch as she's talking to you. This happens. And if they're sweet people, but it's a different environment, okay? I mean, when your eyes burn, your lungs burn from being in the house, They got 15 feral cats. I mean, you're walking over dog poop because their dog's incompetent. It's like crunch, crunch, almond roca. This is experience of a face-to-face agent, and it makes us better, right? It's disgusting. A telesales agent, to John's point, let me tell you, a telesales agent does not have to deal with that. But you are so much more relaxed, though. I'll give this to you in the face-to-face world, okay? So in the face-to-face world, you can listen to your music. You can have that relaxing windshield time. Talk to your wife, talk to your buddies in the field. You don't get that in the telespace. Telespace is for an intense, driven, laser-focused agent that is not one that will get distracted. If you get distracted in telespace, you're done.
John, you ever feel like you've had to like dodge dog turds on the floor or go through a wave of smoke that you can like visually see and think you're getting secondhand smoke? COPD.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, sitting down around bugs it happens quite often.
The roaches.
But, yeah. Roaches and, but I mean, I feel that on the phone, they have the ultimate control because they can always hang up. And I like to have the most control. And when I'm in the house, I have full control.
You know, it's interesting. These are some compelling arguments, both sides. I mean, the roaches, they can hang up on you. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, I don't know if we're helping our audience and make it even more confusing, but that's good.
Or the lady on oxygen, smoking, and you're like, don't blow me up.
Right.
You ever get those? Oh, yikes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, then you get that one guy that'll share a beer with you or something, and everything's all right.
Yeah.
You don't get that in telesales.
There's some good people face to face.
Oh, yeah.
They're so genuine, and they're the same people that I deal with on the tele side. But you're dead right, John. I mean, like missing the handshake, right? You don't get that on the tele side. You get it over the virtual space, but you're right, it is different. But I also don't have to put my hands after every call either.
I had a lady, when I called and made the appointment, she baked me a pie before I got there because she probably hadn't talked to 2 people in a month. Wow. And I was her 3rd one, so she baked me a pie. You won't get that in the telesales. And it was very good. It was all scratch made or from scratch.
I've had clients over the telespace mail me beef jerky and salsa, but I've not gotten a pie. So
okay, yeah.
So Jason, nice interchange here. Good pros and cons here, for sure. Pros more than anything for both. Jason, question for you. And we had talked about this at one point. You've trained a lot of agents. So do you, John. So you kind of have some firsthand experience with what it's like face-to-face and telesales. What do you think, Jason, as far as success rates go? Do you think the random agent out there is going to have a higher or lower chance or equivalent chance at success doing telesales versus face-to-face?
In my opinion, a telesales agent, when trained properly and given the right support, will dominate a face-to-face agent. It just will, because they have so much more intensity and so much focus, and they're having more ups to be able to meet clients' needs and to take care of them over the phone than you could face-to-face. Now, face-to-face is a cheaper game to get into. It is. I mean, like I said, forever, you can be a goob and go face-to-face. You've got a lot more opportunity because you can do seminars, you can door knock, you've got cheaper options to get started in the business. The telespace is going to cost you more to get into. It's not a cheap business to get started on at first, in my opinion. You can get started fairly inexpensively, but it's not cheap. It's not like a free business. Like you could start with face-to-face and just start door knocking, build commission, then slowly buy leads. It's just a different dynamic. You can't do seminars via tele, right, for low cost. So I think it's a little more cost to get into it, and you've got to be trained well to succeed.
John, you got an opinion on that? I mean, you predominantly train face-to-face agents. Any thoughts on that?
The only thing, just kind of going back with a lot of the salesmen, not just in the insurance business, but even in the car business, the guys that I've trained, phones will trip a new salesman up faster than anything. And just word tracks and everything else that you have to use. I mean, when you're face-to-face with somebody and you screw up, you can still save the sell. And on a phone sale, you
Right.
can't sometimes. So having the right word tracks, yeah, they really have to know what they're saying when they're on the phone with them.
I think we
Yep.
could both agree that face-to-face and telesales is a different skill set, right?
Yeah.
It's not, there's similarities, but there's differences too, and what the focus should be on. Sales is sales, but it's different. I think that would be pretty
And
accurate.
I think both sides, of course, telesales is a grind, but face to face is a grind, and you have road grind. I mean, I'm when I do a day, there's times I won't get home, and if I'm in Oklahoma, I won't get home until 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'll leave at 7. And I'm sure Jason works a pretty decent schedule compared to what I work, but yeah.
Right, and I respect your work, John. I mean, like the face-to-face side, I know what you're saying. You're getting up, it's all day. You got road fatigue. I mean, you're eating McDonald's, or you're putting lunch in a cooler. You're trying to find McDonald's to use the restroom, right? In between appointments, you're getting no-showed. You're getting the people that you did the world's best appointment on. You just drove an hour and a half one way, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, need to reschedule. Thanks for coming out." And you're like, you're losing your mind, right? And so, like, you as a face-to-face agent will have to put in potentially more hours than what I do as a telesales agent. I can work 8 to 5 and I'm done.
Yeah.
I walk in, from a day at the office and I still smell good. When you go face-to-face with that facial hair you got, John, I'm telling you, when you go into that shower, you're like, whoa, what just happened? This is bad, right?
Yeah.
So we're blessed that way. Like, I can control my hours. That's why I say I can compress time. I control time in the telesale space. But you're right, though. I mean, you're dead on right.
Yeah. What was I getting ready to say? My schedule is pretty easy because my call days, I'm so good on the phone. I only set for the day after, or and so I'm done in 3 hours. And so I have a lot of free time after that. I can either catch up on office stuff or family stuff, and running errands and that kind of thing. But I run really hard at least 3 days in the field. And I do pack a cooler. I only stop to pee.
Absolutely. You have to. I mean, because there's no other option, right? If you want to be productive as a face-to-face agent, I've done it with you in the past, and you have to run like a dog. I mean, when you get home at 1 in the morning, you are spent. You're not good for your family. I mean, you're done. Like, go to sleep and start the next day. At least for me, that's where the advantage on the telespace. I control my hours, and I don't have to deal with faxing applications. I don't have to deal with all this office work. Like, every day I work, I can serve people, make their wishes happen, and make money for my family. It's a win-win. And so the telespace for me, and I've done both, is just such a big perk that every day that I work, I'm closing business. Most days that even brand new agents that partner with me in my agency, they're making money. One of my brand new agents did $1,000 in AP today. His first time on the phone ever, had no experience on the phone. And if you have good training, good skill set, good word patterns like you're talking about, that's so important. You need to be trained extremely well. But if you know how to do what you're supposed to do, you'll have confidence, just like you in the phone, John. You'll be very confident in the home as a man in your skill set, so you can transfer that to other people as well, which you're good at, and David as well in the field. And it's what you do, but you've got to have that baseline, right? So that you can transfer that skill and knowledge to the next generation of telespace agent, or in your case, face-to-face.
Yeah.
So Jason, let's talk about a typical day. And you kind of hinted at this more or less. To walk us through a typical day that you're selling final expense over the phone from the moment you get up to the day that or the time that you end.
Sure. So me personally, I run an agency. I work a lot more hours than, most agents. But if I'm working a typical day of insurance, I'm getting up at 7 o'clock, 7:30. I make my wife her coffee. I make my coffee. I make a bowl of oatmeal. I get ready. I read a little bit, and then I get ready for my day on the phone. When the 8 o'clock bell rings, boom, I get on my phone. I'm dialing. I'm smiling. I'm doing what I need to do to serve people. And I'm on that phone constantly until 5 o'clock. That's my own hours on the telephone. And I even eat lunch at my desk. Okay. I don't even get up, kind of like John, how he's got that same drive where we get out of a cooler when we're on the road. That translates to me as a tele agent that I want to compress time. So I'm going to eat at my desk and be more productive every day. And between 8 to 5, I only work, 5 days a week. Amazing production can happen in such a compressed period of time without working late nights. Which is a blessing.
So in other words, the big thing for telesales is the amount of time you're putting into the calls, right? That's the driving factor to hitting those goals, the activity put in.
There's no substitute for activity or lack, right? Just like a face-to-face agent, you don't get enough sits, you don't get enough sales, you don't close business. With a telespace, same exact way. You've got to have your dials to have the people to talk to meet their needs.
Yeah. So same question to you, John. Walk us through a typical day, face-to-face final expense sales.
Well, so on my dial days, like I said, I'm typically, I sit there until I have all my appointments made. I've gotten really good on the phone now with setting appointments to where I'm pretty done pretty quickly. But if I stub my toe, if it takes me all the way until 9 o'clock to set every appointment that I want to hit, I'm going to sit at my chair and dial. But typically now I run between 12 and 15 appointments a day when I'm in like Wichita. When I do the northern part of Oklahoma, I run anywhere from 10 to 12 just because of the drive time. And so like tomorrow I'm in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'll leave the home somewhere around 7:30. 7:30. Get to my first appointment at probably at 8:45, and I'm supposed to be there at 9:15. And then just run the day, go to the next one. I'll get stood up here, I'll get stood up there. But tomorrow it's a 12. I mean, I've got 10 or 12. I gotta look. I can't remember how many appointments I set. That's a bad thing, I guess, or a good thing. But I mean, tomorrow I'll have 4 sales tomorrow. I mean, I'm that confident. It's every time I book a deal or book a day like that, I'm guaranteeing myself 4 sales at minimum, and I'm going for 6. Of course, I'm going for 100%.
Right.
A 6 is a very good day. And I want to make 4 to 5 grand tomorrow. That's what I'm going after.
So question for the audience. I know we talked about this in length on our interview video, so you guys can check that out. We did about a month ago. How do you do, real briefly, how can you do 12 appointments in a day and then drive to each appointment? Because we're talking rural Oklahoma or small town Oklahoma. How do you make it to where you run an appointment, have to write a deal, write the app, possibly husband and wife, and then drive 20, 25 minutes to the next appointment on the other side of the county? How do you make that work?
Way I set my appointments, I tell them, I usually do it on the 15. So it's either 10:15 or 2:15. And then after, at the end of the call, I tell them I'm going to, I might be a little late. I'm coming from Ponca City, or I'm coming from a certain city. And I put it in their mind that I'm already going to be late, because I'm probably late to every appointment except the first one. I'm early, and I make it really fast when I'm in the house. I can write an app. I can write a dual app in 30 minutes if I have a husband and wife. But I can typically be done, like I said, in 30 minutes. If Mildred takes me, 45 minutes to an hour, I know I'm probably going to have to drop one at the end. And I kind of pick and choose who I'm going to drop. Kind of the bigger the house, it's the first to go. And a lot of my guys that one of the insurance companies that I came from would probably pull their hair out because they want the big houses. But the bigger the house is, the first one I'm going to drop. And I'm going to lot 19 and selling Fred a policy that he can afford, and it's going to help him more. But really, if it's an hour away and I'm going to be, and I get done with that appointment, and it's, I'm supposed to be there right then, and I'm an hour away. I'm just going. I'm going until it's 9 o'clock. I'll hit every door until 9 o'clock. Every appointment I made.
So it's presentation volume for you because you're presetting and hitting those numbers. Yeah.
And my clients are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be waiting. I mean, as we know, Telesales is a retired, most of them are there.
Right. So Jason, I get this question a lot from agents that I recruit, and they'll say, I want to do both face-to-face and telesales, like literally at the same time. And here I am on this interview. I'm sitting with two dudes who've done both, but they ain't doing both like right now. They're doing one thing. And if anything's true in this business, I'm sure both of you would agree. We want to duplicate what works. And sometimes it's telesales, sometimes it's face-to-face, but it's very rarely, in my experience, both at the same time. Jason, what's your thoughts on that? Can you do both at the same time, or should you focus on one or the other?
In my opinion, very biased. Okay, I've done both, but burn the bridges. Do one. I personally feel dirty and like it's a waste of my time to go face to face. Okay, it's not below me to go face to face. I do it on occasion. I call it a field trip when I go face to face. But I feel like I tell my wife when I'm like, hey babe, I'm leaving my office. I got to go run out to go handle a replacement with, the cow. We'll just leave it at that because they won't do it over the phone. So I go out and do it. And I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm like, I just lost a lot of money. And my wife's like, yeah, honey, you're way more productive to never leave your office and work. So for me, it's like, I burn the bridges. I do go face to face on occasion when I absolutely have to, but I feel like I just burned money on fire to go face to face for me. It's so much more productive in my professional opinion.
John, your thoughts on that? Same thing. Can an agent do both at the same time, or should they just do one or the other and focus?
I think you should focus on one thing. I think you should focus on face to face, and I've been on the phone with people as I'm making appointments, and they ask me, can I do this over the phone? And I said, no, I'm a field underwriter. I'm going to be in your area tomorrow. I just need 5 to 10 minutes with you. Then I know exactly what I need to give you. I'm going to be there between what would work best for you, 2:15 or 4:15, and wait for the answer. And if it's no, I don't want anybody in my house. All right, click next one.
Right. Yeah. And that's, good advice for you new agents is don't get distracted by the other thing. Be completely focused. And the bit of advice I'll give to the audience is anytime you pick one thing, it's always to the exclusion of others. You're always going to have this feeling that FOMO, I'm missing out on the telesales. This lady said, oh, she doesn't want anybody in the house. Well, that's what she says. Does she believe that? You can't get distracted by that. You got to spend time figuring out what works best for you and triple down on that and put everything else to the side, put your blinders on. Don't think about telesales if you're doing face-to-face, and likewise reverse if you're telesales, and don't think about face-to-face. Be committed to whatever it is you're doing. It's going to serve you in the long run way better than trying to be half pregnant. Jason, question for you. What do you tell an agent? Again, a lot of people are getting into this business now. If at the recording of this, it's September 16th. We are at, I sure as hell hope so, the end of this pandemic is in sight, and yes, we can take our mask off and breathe the fresh air. But we've lived through a process where now I would say telephonic sales of all stripes, not just in final expense, but across insurance and in other industries for sure, is here to stay. There's a trend now, and there still is obviously concern with this pandemic, enough so that some agents are questioning if they should do telesales when maybe they want to do face-to-face, or again, vice versa. My question to you, Jason, is what do you tell your agents to decide if they're confused? What would you tell them if they didn't know they wanted to do one or the other? How do you help them make that decision?
They've got to understand what they want, right? It's not what someone else wants. It's what their passion is. The telesales side, I don't have to wear a mask all day. I would hate it okay, to wear a mask in the field. So much is lost when you do that. So man, you guys working face to face right now, my hat's off to you. It's miserable wearing that mask all day long. But the telesales space, you got to focus on one or the other. You've got to figure out what you want to do. If you're a lady, oh, let me tell you, being a telesales agent, it's safer. You don't have to worry. You don't have miles on your car. You don't have to worry about, okay, your stuff getting stolen out of your trunk when you're running into McDonald's really fast and you've got PII, right? I mean, I've been a face-to-face agent where I'm taking my briefcase into the McDonald's restroom with me because I got to protect my clients' information, and it's awkward. It just is a little bit, where they just got to figure out what they want, what their passion is, and then they've got to partner with somebody that's going to help them get what they want, no matter what that is. If it's face-to-face, they need to partner with somebody that does a lot of face-to-face and is good at it, and just saddle up that horse and go. They've got to just figure out what they want, to accomplish. That's the big thing. The telesales space is not that hard once you understand it. It's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It's extremely hard work. I think it takes more focus to be a good telesales agent than it does to be a face-to-face agent. It's way more drive. But either way is a good direction. You just got to figure out what path you want, and then just go for it with all you got. Burn those bridges. Don't be looking back.
John, your thoughts on this, as far as if you have an agent that's kind of on the fence, doesn't know what to do, would you give them some advice on kind of how to make that decision of which one to focus on?
Of course, I'd tell them to focus on final or face-to-face. I feel that when you're face-to-face, more doors open up. I don't know how many med subs I've wrote. I don't know how many. I mean, I've got my new button. Ask me about Medicare.
Oh.
I mean, Medicare opens up. Annuities open up. I mean, I've sold dental plans, when, hey, we also don't have dental. After I did their life insurance, I sold them 2 dental plans. I mean, things like that. Cancer plans might open up, hey, there's just, I feel when you're face to face, there's more opportunity to maybe open that door up for something else. And I think it's easier to, if you're ever in a house and you need to talk about money and maybe moving money over into an annuity, you can do that. Jason probably, I don't know if that's something that you guys do or try to transition to over the phone, but I sell a lot of products. If they're not interested in face or in final expense, I move to something else, and I get my 4 or 5 yes no's before I get a yes, and I finally find something. It might just be a little $30 cancer plan, but I'm there.
Oh, you're right, John. All the plans add up, right? I mean, today I do a ton of final expense. 95% of my volume is all final expense. Get good at one thing and get really good, in my opinion. But don't be afraid. Once you get good, don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Get good at one thing first. But then, like today, I was talking with a guy about a cancer policy, sold a bunch of med subs. Annuity game, though, it's a face-to-face game, you guys. That's where on high net worth for med subs that I'll do over the phone, I will go on a field trip to that home. Google Earth, okay? Look it up. If it's a high net worth home, I'm heading out.
Well, good. So, guys, I think this has been a really good program today, as far as giving everybody, our audience, a really good insight, both sides here. The goal of this was to help you out there decide, should I go face-to-face or should I go telesales? And I think, again, the opportunity here is better than it ever has. The final expense arena is wide open for decades. 11,000 people a day are turning 65. They're losing their life insurance benefits, many of them, and they're retiring and they still need coverage. I thought they wouldn't, but they do. And, whether you do telesales or face-to-face, there's so much opportunity for many decades to come. It just comes down to, I think we can all agree, picking what is best suited for you, your personality type, and what your objectives are. And that's what's kind of makes it hard, I guess, right? Because it's not like one's clearly better than the other. And I don't think one is better than the other. It's just that you got to figure out what's right for you based on what your goals are, and give it your all, give it your full attention and commitment, and good things could come if you do so. So last couple things, John, as we conclude, can you tell the audience a little bit more about where agents, if they're interested in working with you, possibly where they can go as far as your website goes?
Yeah, my agency is called Wheat State Senior Insurance, and my uh, uh, website's wheatstatesenior.insurance.com. Pretty easy.
Okay. And same for you, Jason. Where can agents find out more about you?
Sure, thank you. You look me up on jasonfinalexpense.com, or you can check me out on YouTube, same name, Jason Final Expense. Lots of work, good fun.
Well, thank you too so much for taking time out of your busy day to do this training. And to you guys in the audience, I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for watching as always. And if you got any comments, questions, feel free to leave them below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Y'all have a good rest of the day. See ya.